Hey, just as a reminder, I'm a narrator on Chilling, the awesome horror app that features over 1,000 horror stories, over a dozen narrators, some of whom you might know from YouTube, as well as full-length novels, an exclusive series, and Chilling originals. You can select and change the ambient sound in the background of the stories whenever you want, without affecting the story you're listening to, and we release hours of new stories every week. Click the link in the description to download and start your free trial to see if you like it. Also, Chilling is always doing fantastic giveaways, and in time for the holidays, we are giving away a PS5 bundle that includes the disc version console, 2 games, and some Chilling merch. Click the link in the description to learn how you can win. Best of luck. I worked at Target years ago. I mostly worked in the furniture and home decor department of the store. That area was towards the middle and the back, and I worked pretty random hours because I was part-time. One Friday afternoon, it was probably about 2 p.m. or so. I worked until 6, and to that point, things had gone pretty smooth and the store was not too busy. I was walking past the electronics section when a man approached me. I turned around to see a tall man with a winter hat on, and he asked me why there were no iPads left. Immediately, I didn't like his tone. He seemed angry and came off as rude. I told the man I wasn't sure because I didn't work in electronics, but I could check to see if we had any available in the store. The man told me that it said online we had one, but when he went to look, there were none. He then said that the electronics guy was no help to him. I looked up right there if we had any iPads in stock, and we didn't have any. I showed this to the man and apologized to him, saying that we didn't have any in stock at this location, but I could check if they had any at nearby Target stores. The man was not satisfied by this. He said to me that he had just looked online, and it said we had one in stock here, and then he asked me if I was calling him a liar. I tried to calm the man down, and said maybe somebody had just purchased our last one. He kept asking me to get one from the back after that, as if we had a bunch of iPads in the back room. Basically, the man was becoming more and more angry no matter what I said. He started to say that I was lying, and that we must have a bunch of idiots working here. This is when I told the man that he would just have to leave the store because we couldn't have him talking like that. At first, he refused, but after a few seconds, the man finally just turned around and walked in the other direction. I was so glad that he was finally leaving, and I went back to doing what I originally was. I made my way a few aisles over and was organizing one of the shelves of home decorations. Probably 10 minutes later, I saw the man again. He entered the aisle that I was working in, and he just stood there looking at me. It was as if he was just waiting for me to say something. I really didn't want to, and I ignored him for the first few seconds after noticing him, but finally I turned to him and asked what he wanted. He was still angry. He started walking over to me, basically saying the same things that he had before. I didn't want to be a part of this any longer, and I said that he needed to leave the store or I would call security. That seemed to stop him because I left the aisle and the man stayed there. I walked over and went into the back room area of the store. As I walked through the main walkway in the back, I heard the door open and shut to the store behind me. I looked back a ways and saw the guy had entered the back room as well and was now following me. I kept walking and hoped to see somebody else who was working back there, but I didn't. The guy was walking behind me and seemed to be getting closer. I turned around for a brief second and told him that he wasn't allowed to be back here. He didn't say anything and kept walking quickly in my direction. I took my walkie from my side and called for security and gave them the location of where I was going. The guy got closer and closer. Pretty soon, he was only a few feet behind me. I had almost made it to the door. When I finally made it to another door that went back into the store, the guy reached out and grabbed my arm. At around the same time, I opened the doors and went out. When I did, that's where security was. They were able to get the man to leave, and I went back to my department. It was crazy why the guy kept following me, and I'm not really sure what his problem was. This is a story of something that happened when I was shopping at Target a couple of months ago. I was at a super Target, which is a bigger version of a regular Target, and I was shopping at one not too far from my house. It was probably like 8 o'clock at night or so, and I was shopping for mainly toothpaste and soap, which I had run out of. There was a back wall where most of those type of products were, and when I was in that area, I was looking around and happened to glance behind me. The store was pretty quiet, and not many other people were shopping at all. But there was another aisle nearby that had like makeup and skin products, and in that aisle was just one guy. He was wearing a hat and had an old-looking backpack with him, which is what I immediately noticed. But then, I saw the guy take something off the shelf and just stick it into his backpack. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The guy had to know that I could see him, or at least that I was there. I kept watching, and the guy pulled about 4 or 5 more things right off the shelf and put them into his backpack. To be honest, it was making me mad, and I even took a couple of steps closer to the guy. This didn't stop him. He didn't even seem to notice me. He pulled a couple of more things off the shelf and stole them as well. That's when I decided to talk to him. I entered the aisle and said that he shouldn't put things in his backpack. He looked at me. He didn't look surprised, and he didn't try to hide it either. He just told me that I should mind my own business and leave him alone. I told him that there were cameras everywhere, and Target probably saw everything that he did. The guy just told me to shut up and then walked angrily away. I went back and found a Target employee and let them know about him. After that, I went back to my shopping. The rest of it only took me about 5 or 10 more minutes, and I didn't really have that much stuff to get. I didn't see the guy at all the rest of the time that I was in the store. I kind of assumed that Target had known what he was doing and was either talking to him or the police were called. Either way, I knew I did what I could to help out. I checked out and left the store. I got into my car and began to drive off. Right when I was leaving the parking lot, that's when I saw an older, beat-up looking small black car come speeding out of nowhere through the lot. At this Target, the parking lot was pretty big, and there were other businesses that were in the same shopping area with their properties connected. The car appeared to come out of one of these parking lots and drove straight towards my car. I had to slam on my brakes and swerve a little bit to avoid making contact with him. Then the car slammed on its brakes as well, just before we nearly collided. My car was basically blocked between the curb and the other car. That's when I looked up, wondering what idiot had just nearly ran into me. Then I saw the driver, and it was the same man who had been shoplifting inside of Target. He was now looking at me through the front windshield of his car, no doubt mad at me for getting involved in his shoplifting experience. He flipped me the bird as we both sat there. I wanted to drive away, but his car was only about 2 feet away from mine, and behind me was the curb. Both of our cars sat there for probably 30 seconds. It was really uncomfortable with the guy staring right into my window the entire time. Then the man opened up his driver's door and began walking over to my car. I knew that I didn't have a choice anymore. I put my car into reverse and slammed my foot on the pedal. I did not have 4-wheel drive, but my car somehow hopped up onto the curb, and when I had enough space, I put it back into drive. Then I turned and drove away from the guy. I saw him running back to his car, but I was already speeding away and out of the parking lot. I made it back onto the street, and somehow I wasn't followed. I'm not sure if the guy got away with shoplifting those items or what, but he was already outside and waiting for me when I left. Hopefully I never see him again. Last year, I was invited to a little birthday party that my friend Taylor was having. It was just a few people in my friend group that were going. I had no idea what to get at all, and I went to Target after work one day to find something. I'm always really bad at figuring out what to get people. I don't know why, but I've just always been that way. So when I got to Target, I just started looking around at things that could be general good gifts. It was like 9 p.m., pretty late, so the store was almost empty. I'm not really sure how long I was there, but it was probably a while. I did get a couple of things that I actually needed as well, and I got a little distracted by some other items that I looked at. I somehow ended up in one of the aisles in the back corner of the store. I was just looking around, trying to find a good gift, and that's when I started to hear noises. It was just like random noises, like there was somebody nearby. I assumed it was another customer or an employee, but I hadn't really seen anybody in the area, and the noises would have still been strange. It was like a tapping or random thuds. It went on in what sounded like the next aisle over for a few minutes straight. I got curious, and I walked over to that aisle to see where the noises were coming from. When I got to it, I saw that nobody was there. I even walked over to the next aisle after that as well, but nobody was there either. This was really strange. I decided to go over and get back to my shopping, but when I passed by the first aisle that I had looked at, I saw behind a suitcase there was a man. The guy was crouched behind one of the suitcases, and I looked at him for several seconds from about 30 feet away probably. At first, he wasn't looking at me, but eventually he turned his head and we made eye contact. When he was looking at me, he was completely expressionless. It was really strange. I decided to just leave the guy alone. I walked over to a completely different side of the store and kept looking. When I was in that aisle over there, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. When I looked, I saw the same guy was peeking around the corner. He was just looking at me still. I left the aisle through the other side. I wrapped up my shopping then because this guy was really creeping me out. I ended up just getting Taylor a gift card. I know I'm lame, but when I was at the checkouts buying the items, I saw the guy again. This time, he was standing right by the exit doors. I ended up just getting Taylor a gift card. I know, I'm lame. But when I got to the checkouts and I was buying my items, I saw the guy again. This time, he was standing right by the exit doors. He wasn't leaving. He was just standing there on the side. He also wasn't looking directly at me, but in the area of the check lane that I was at. When I was done checking out, I decided to leave in the other exit doors instead. Luckily, this Target had 2 of them. I really didn't want to walk by that weirdo again. By the time I made it to the other doors and started to walk outside, he was already there. The guy was standing outside, just looking at me. I tried to walk past him and not look at him because I was afraid if I did, he would do something creepy. As I walked past, I was nervous that he would follow me, and sure enough, he did. He started to walk behind me as I went to my car. When I sped up, he did as well. Eventually, I started sprinting. Then the guy was sprinting too. I unlocked my car, got inside, and sped away as fast as I could. Luckily for me, the guy stopped before my car. I'm really not sure what he was doing or who he was. Maybe it was a dumb joke. Either way, it really creeped me out.